الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. قال سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد آتينا لقمان الحكمة أن يشكر لله ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Okay, today inshallah we'll be covering the second report that was beautifully recited by Imam Nawab. In the course that we're studying the Munktakhib Nisab, the selective course study of the Qur'an, this is pretty much an overview of what that is. We started with Surah Al-Asr, and in Surah Al-Asr we determined the urgency for to realize the predicament that we're in, that mankind is in a state of loss. We need to really figure things out and start working on the four criteria that are going to get us through. And this entire syllabus is revolving around those four criteria. First section is based on other areas like Surah Al-Asr, which talk about other comprehensive lessons, and of them covered Ayatul Asli, in which we covered a holistic concept of righteousness, in which we discussed that what I think is religious, what people think to be religious, is not necessarily religious. But the Quranic term for religiosity, for somebody who can be called a pious person, it's a more holistic concept. That person needs to be charitable, and before everything needs to have firm faith. He's grounded in firm faith of Islam and the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he's charitable, and he prays, and he establishes the ibadat, and he keeps to his word. And we discussed about the relevance and the importance of each of those. And then today we were talking about the second report of Surah Luqman, and the title that is given to this particular topic is Foundations of Quranic Wisdom. Right? So inshallah we'll be talking about that. After that we'll have one more talk on comprehensive lessons, which will be from Surah Fussilat, and then after that we will start talking about Iman from Surah Fatiha, Surah Al-Imran, in different places, similarly for Amal Salih, Tawassi al-Haq, and Tawassi al-Islam. Each of these will be taken separately, and we'll discuss the different portions of the Quran which talk about this. Inshallah we'll have the syllabus put up on the website as well. So beginning with today's talk, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the 12th ayah of Surah Luqman. And before I actually continue, I'm just like to tell you guys the way what I learned this past week, I preparing for this talk. It's been completely it's been a journey. It's been a journey that I wish and I hope I can pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I can take you guys with me where I went. But if I fail to do so, then I do encourage you all to read on these ayat and reflect on them on your own and before learning. Because really when I started off, I knew very little about Surah Luqman. All I knew was that it talks about Luqman giving advice to his son. It's a father-son thing. Because subhanAllah, when I was done, it ended up being at present my favorite surah in Luqman. It's pure privilege, it's epic, it's subhanAllah. I just can't explain it. So inshallah, this will be Qur'an that we're able to touch on and experience something of that, of the hikmah in this surah. So, beginning with this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ. First of all, who is Luqman? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we granted, very definitely we granted Luqman with wisdom. First of all, who was Luqman? Now, Luqman was known amongst the Arabs. He was popular amongst the Arabs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ as well. Right? People knew him and they knew him for his wisdom. He was famous for his wisdom. That this person was a sage. He said wise words. He understood things. So he was known for his wisdom. And they mentioned him in their poetry, and they had high regard for him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these ayat is expressing the reality of who Luqman was and what was that wisdom for which he was famous. What made him wise? How did he become the way he became? And when Luqman was an African slave carpenter, he was a slave, right? African slave carpenter. He was of short height. He had a flat nose. He was really dark. He had thick lips. So in terms of looks, he did not have much going for him. SubhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses whom He will to grant these lessons. And hikmah is one of the greatest lessons of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you don't have what the worldly standards of success or beauty are. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses you, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to give you khayr, then alhamdulillah, that's the greatest good possible. Right? So that's who Luqman was. He was a slave carpenter. So now, what is hikmah? What is wisdom? Hikmah, we all talk about it. What is this? So, in talking about hikmah, linguistically, it comes from the root kalma, right? So, words that derive from this particular root, they indicate strength and maturity. We have this in Urdu as well. We say istihkam. We learned the other day istihkam in Pakistan. The strength of Pakistan, right? We make Pakistan stronger, more mature, right? So hikmah is indicative of the maturity of somebody's intellect, enabling them to discern truth and to understand reality, right? So it's the maturity of your mind and heart. That's what hikmah really is, where you recognize what things really are, the reality of things. Why are the things the way they are? The reality of the universe and stuff like that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. First, the fazilat of having hikmah. Like you said, Luqman is really blessed to be given hikmah. What makes hikmah so special? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُؤْتِي الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this wisdom to whomever He wants. وَمَنْ يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives hikmah to, He's been given a lot. He's been given khayr kathir. And we can't even imagine how blessed that person is. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the people of hikmah. وَمَا يَذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. And people won't understand this except the people of intellect, except the people of inner form, who have that essence. Their essence is alive. They haven't killed it by following vanities, useless, trivial things that kill your intellect, that kill your sound nature. That if you don't have that, if life is all about partying and entertainment, then those kind of people won't understand the importance of this. Those people won't understand the importance of hikmah, right? And very interestingly, Surah Luqman mentions hikmah, I believe, 3 times. Once in reference to the Qur'an, once in reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, who is Hakim, the Qur'an is Hakim, and then in reference to the Qur'an. And also in Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a kind of people who indulge in these trivial, time-wasting things. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. There are people who buy these لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ, these useless distractions, these pieces of entertainment to distract people from the sabil and path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people, their lives are inundated with these trivial, useless means of entertainment alone, and they're not going to get very much benefit. Not going to get much benefit from the Qur'an. Quran says these people don't get it. They don't find the stories of the Qur'an enlightening. Find it boring. Qur'an makes it hard to know, right? So to have that, we need to rid our lives of vanity, of useless things, right? So one messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Al-kalimatu al-hikmatu qalatul mu'min." Word of wisdom is the lost property of a believer. فَحَيْثُ وَجَدَهَا فَهُوَ أَحَقُّ بِهَا. So wherever he finds it, he has a greater right over it. So every single person claiming to believe should be looking for wisdom. So if you lost something, for example, you lose your car keys, when you find them, you need them to have them. These are mine. I own them. Nobody can take this away from me. Right? You're proud of that possession. So that's how hikmah is supposed to be for a believer. When you find it, then you hold on to it. It's like it was always yours, but just missing for a little bit. And now you finally you've been reunited. So that's how a human being, a believer rather, is. So now, let's differentiate hikmah from philosophy. We say philosophy and wisdom. There's different things: philosophy, wisdom, ilm, knowledge. And, there's the order of things. But we're in particular when we say falsafa, hikmah, right? It's in common use. But we need to determine what is the difference. Exactly what is hikmah? We talked about it being a maturity and soundness of the intellect part, right? But going more into detail. Philosophy, when we speak about philosophy, that's intellect alone. Pure reason, just logic. 2 plus 2 is equal to 0, right? That's logical, that makes sense. So one thought leading to another, it's an intellectual process, right? That's philosophy, pretty much, right? That's pure reason, natural, innate abilities and truth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has endowed human beings with. They don't have any bearing on philosophy. They don't have anything to do with philosophy. So people like Freud will take their intellect to the point. See, Freud, people like that don't understand why are people kind to each other. Why do parents love their children? Why do children love their parents? What is it? Why are children so grateful to their parents? Why are human beings together? What is the reason? Why does somebody do another person act of kindness? They don't understand that. Why do these people go to the masjid and bow to something they don't even see? What's the point of that? What's the point of this exercise? Freud particularly calls God a universal delusion. Because he's only playing on pure intellect. And intellect does not show him God. It just shows him deluded human beings walking about. Deluded human beings. Right? And he sees the relationship between parents and children and he reduces it to sex. He reduces it to sex. And he says that the greatest ideal for a human being is sex. That is it. And everything else that human beings indulge in, that's just them making up for their thwarted and their failed attempts at sex. So even they take to the level of parents and children. A son, the way he looks at his mother, there's something with a sexual level. That's the level to which they go. That's pure intellect, pure reason. What is wisdom? Wisdom is 2 things. Aql, which is intellect, plus fitra. Fitrat Allahi fatara an-nasa alayha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that there is this fitra on which He created all of us. And every single human being were created on a fitra. What is this fitra? Fitra can be translated, we say nature, human nature. Right? Human nature, subconscious level, there's a human nature on which everyone has been created. Certain values that we've been endowed with, that are inherently within a human being. Right? We didn't learn them from anywhere, they were just within us to begin with. We were ingrained with those ideas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put them in us from the very beginning. That's the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Kullu mawludin yuladu ala fitra. Every child born is born on fitra. And then his environment corrupts him, right? His environment makes him a Christian or a Jew or whatever. But inherently, every single person is born on human nature, right? So when you join these two together, when these another word we use for intuition, intuitive truths, things within us. Inshallah, as we go on further, you understand all this means. But to just begin, wisdom is aql plus fitra. So when you use these intuitive truths, these realities, these sound nature realities, you use them as a foundation, right? And then the intellect builds on top of this as a foundation. The intellect builds on this. You use reason, you use logic, and you build on this. Final product of that, the structure that you get, that's the reason. Right? That's wisdom. So what do we mean by that? Now, first foundation of wisdom, of hikmah, is shukr, is gratitude. Again, like we said, these are the subconscious realities that you can't prove with logic and you can't disprove them, right? So every human being is endowed with this gratitude, with this sense of gratitude. If somebody does you a favor or somebody gives you a gift, then you respond to it. You say thank you or you return the favor somehow. Right? You feel that you're in debt of that person, that he did you a favor. Right? That's a normal human being whose fitrah is sound. Right? Somebody gives you a favor, you slam the door on their face, if there's something there, that's not good. That's something you're not grateful, like, yeah, whatever. You didn't do me any good, you didn't do me any favors. That's a corrupted. There's no gratitude in that. That's a reality at subconscious level. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Qur'an that He gave him wisdom so that he can be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This gratitude. Now to understand how this shukr, this gratitude, makes a foundation on which the intellect will build a structure which we will call wisdom. Let's start with a story. Right? So this is a story of a grateful Abdul. His name of the boy is Abdul. He's born into a family, right? And his parents are very nice to him, right? They do him a lot, they get him food, drinks, everything. They're very nice. For Abdul, his life is his parents. He's a baby, right? He's just a kid growing up. For him, his parents are everything. He's hungry, they give him food. He's thirsty, they give him water. They take care of every single thing that he wants. So for him, his whole life is his parents. So he's grateful to his parents. He has this sense, this inherent sense towards his parents. He feels comfortable with them. He likes to be happy with them. He likes to be with them. When they're not there, he's not comfortable. Right? He has this connection with his parents. That's how, and he will do things for his parents to please them when they ask him, because he's grateful to them. Now this child, so his parents have everything. They're his entire universe, his entire world. Right? So he's grateful, I'm grateful to my parents. And then his horizon expands a little. He moves out into the world. And he realizes that there's more to this world than just my parents. The food that I eat, the drink, the water that I drink, it extends beyond just my family. There's a whole tribe involved. There's other people in my family that help my parents, that give food to my parents, that give a job to my parents, or something like that, right? There's some people growing food. So things are going around. It's a whole structure on which that their family is surviving as well. There's this society. So he recognizes that and he's like, I'm obligated, I have to be grateful to more than just my parents. Right? So his horizon has expanded a little. And he's like, I'm grateful to my people. Right? Now, he then grows up, and he realizes that he looks at the world around him. He's like, you know what, the water and food that I get, water and food that my parents get, the society that they get it from, even the society, the source, where do they get it from? It's the earth that grows the plants. And we eat those plants, and we eat those plants. And the water comes from the skies and the seas, and there's this sun that helps the plants grow. So he's grateful to all these things. His gratitude the horizon of his gratitude is expanding. It's enveloped pretty much the entire universe. Because all of them are playing a part in his survival. So him having a sound nature, having a sound fitrah, he's grateful to all these things. Now, his intellect now takes a step, or takes a leap further. He realizes that all the food that I eat, I'm a human being, and there's other human beings like me. I need food. Food just happens to be there. The earth just happens to grow the food. And then he's like, the soil, the earth that grows the food, these plants need water. So the clouds just happen to deliver the water. And it's like these clouds get their water from somewhere. So there's the sea, and there's this other water source that just happen to have that water. And they need to reach the clouds somehow. So the sun just happens to be there. So that it gets that water all the way to the clouds. And those clouds get to that plant, and the plant gives me food, and I get the food. And then the sun also has another benefit. The plants would not just grow with water. They need an energy source. And that energy source comes from a sun that again just happens to be there. Right? So if he gets more educated and he uses his intellect further, then he recognizes that the universe that he is living in, that is helping him live, that is helping him breathe, eat, and survive, is dependent on very intricate balances. That this is just only the beginning. His survival is dependent on so much more. If you want to take it to a medical realm, then there's very balanced nutrient elements within our blood. Like if they go haywire, the human being is you go all wacky. You give a patient too much potassium, a little bit more, his heart's going to start fibrillating. If you give too much, too less, it starts going to stop. Right? Sodium, you give too little, it's going to go into a coma. Give a little bit too much, it's going to start seizing. So there's very intricate balance. This is just very tiny example. One gene goes missing, and a human being goes haywire. Right? You can't be a surviving, a contributing member of a society anymore. And yet, 5 billion people on the face of this world are healthy. They're alive. They get their food. They get their water. Everything exists, and everything is functioning. So he recognizes that this amazing, amazing creation that we are, the world that we live in, there has to be a creator, and there has to be only one creator. There is no other way. Because he remembered, Abdul remembered that he went to a carpenter shop one day, and he saw this, the chair was being made, and he saw the back of that chair, and he saw the seat of the chair. They were separate, right? They were separate. In the back of the chair, there was holes, and the seat of the chair just happened to have square pegs that were going to fit into that hole, so that the chair would become a one solid unit, usable. He recognized, you know what? The carpenter must have done this. But this was a conscious mind at work. This did not happen to be there. If you find a blackberry in the middle of the desert, you're going to think it got there somehow. Something made it, brought it there. It just didn't get made on its own. Right? So Abdul's journey, all through when he finally sees that there is a creator, one conscious being, he sustains me, he gives me eat, everything I get is from him, and I, above everything else, I owe it to him. I owe my gratitude to him. So now, Abdul is grateful to Allah. Now he's become Abdullah. Now he's become Abdullah. So his gratitude that started with his parents, extended to his society, went on to envelop the entire universe. The entire universe and everything in it now zooms in and focuses in on one being, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So in other words, that's shukr. Like that's gratitude. I'm going to summarize this in one statement on the next slide. First, Imam Rajab said that shukr is not just that you say it with your tongue, but that you recognize it, you feel it, rather something that you express. Shukr is to understand and recognize a favor or a gift, and admit and express that it's appreciation. It has 3 levels. First, you understand that there's a favor that was done to you. First, you recognize that you have been favored upon, that a gift has been given to you. First, you acknowledge that, and then you express it with your tongue. You say thank you, or we say alhamdulillah, right? And then with your entire being, you exhibit that appreciation. You just don't end it with the tongue. You do whatever it is, however it takes, whatever it takes to thank that other benefactors. Ad-Dabbatul Shakur was an animal. Arabs define an animal. If you give him meat and he grows fat as a result, that means that nourishment resulted in a physical response that is apparent, like an apparent response. So shukr is an apparent response, right? That is apparent in somebody's behavior. That you can see he's a grateful person, right? So it should be apparent. Like if a father gets his son a book, and the son's like, thank you so much, I love this book, it's so amazing, and he takes the book and goes away. Is he grateful for that book really? To actually give the right, the haqq of that gift, of that favor, that's shukr. Right? So, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an example. He says, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقْعًا. Don't you see these fast running steeds panting? These war horses, they're panting, they're breathing fast, and from their hooves they're striking the rods and sparks of fire are coming out, and فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا, and they push home and they're charging early in the morning. فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقْعًا. You see clouds of dust behind them, فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا, and they penetrate forth into the army. The horse knows that there's armies in front of it. They have swords and spears. Yet the master says, jump. And it jumps. It obeys the master. Why? It's grateful to his master. The master did what? It gave him food to eat. Cheap, rundown food, that's all it took. And he took care of the horse a little bit. That's all it took. And the horse was willing to lay down his life for his master. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Inna al-insana li rabbihi lakanun." Mankind indeed is very ungrateful to his Lord. Man indeed is very ungrateful. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done much, much more for us than a master does for his horse. He's given us much more than his food. And subhanAllah, look at the gratitude of the horse. And look at our gratitude. So this gratitude needs to be focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a nutshell, somebody has a sound fiqh, again, sound fiqh, uncorrupted nature. Not corrupted by societal influences and what they see on TV, and it's not been killed by that. Because that literally kills people's sense of gratitude. So one of the features of the sound fiqh is gratitude. And a sound intellect, a sound brain, which has not been killed by the materialistic, atheistic sciences that are taught in the school, they will recognize one God. They will recognize one master. And you put 1 plus 2, that begets gratitude. That's the key. Right? 1 plus 2 equals hikmah. Gratitude to the one of Tawheed. That's how our journey starts as Muslims. We start with La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All founded on one foundation, and that was gratitude on which the intellect built. Wisdom, which says, be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Tawheed of Allah. So this was the journey from hikmah to shukr. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنِ يَشْكُرَ. So he would be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and express that gratitude. فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ وَمَنْ يَشْكُرُ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. And whoever is grateful should recognize and realize and make it firm in his heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need your gratitude. He is in no need of your sajda, of your qiyam, of your salawat, of your charity. He doesn't need any of that. He is ghaniyun hamid. He is self-sufficient. And in his own self, he is mahmood. He is enough for himself. In and of himself, he is praiseworthy. He doesn't need us to praise him. We need to praise him. It is a requirement that we have. For us to be grateful to him is not his need, it's our need. We're the desperate, we're the fuqara. Allahu ghaniyun antum al-fuqara. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. You're the needy people, you're the desperate people. Your giving out for Allah is not feeding him. He doesn't need your food, he doesn't need your worship. You think he needs worship, but he's got enough angels to worship him. There's enough angels to do with this game. He doesn't need you. Your saying Alhamdulillah does not raise him in that. It raises you in that. So the desperation is on your side. You're not doing Allah any favors. It's point. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Luqman, he gets this wisdom and he recognizes, so he passes it on to his son. قال لقمان لابنه فهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. How you establish this tawheed is you make sure there is absolutely no shirk involved. That our lives are absolutely cleansed and purified from shirk. And he's telling his son, this is as good as a father-son relationship gets. He's giving him something much more priceless than any treasure he can ever give. Any inheritance that he can live as slave carpenter, he's giving him something much, much better. And that is this advice. And a whole lot of other advices. So he's telling him, do not commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. And if we think that born in Muslim families, living in Muslim countries, surrounded by Muslims, we're going to be free from shirk, then that's again an assumption. That is again an assumption. If we're not bowing down to idols, or if we're not saying the Trinity, that does not mean we're cleansed from shirk. That does not mean we're purified from shirk. Shirk, that unforgivable disease. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you forgive anything, He will not forgive shirk. just broadly and very briefly, I'm not going to spend much time on this. There's three broad categories of shirk. Shirk is that, and in that you see the Trinity, say God has a son, or the Jews said Uzziah was the son of God, or the pagans of Makkah said the idols, these angels are the daughters of God, right? That's one type of shirk. And then there's pantheism, which says that everything is God, right? Again, that's a shirk to that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That shirk is sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now in this, there's three important points that we're going to need to recognize. That even though we use similar words for us, for human beings and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say we see, and we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees. We say we hear, and we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears as well. Right? So we need to recognize that our hearing and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hearing is all over the place. Right? It's the limitations of human languages that we have this problem of using the same words. Otherwise, we need to bear in mind three important things about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the attributes of His creation. If there is anything, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have not been granted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by anyone else. Our attributes, all of us, every single piece of creation, our attributes have been granted by Allah. The source is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And our attributes are limited. For example, I cannot see beyond that wall. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes are not limited. They're limitless. Right? And our attributes, there's a time where they began, right? There's a point of time in history where they began. And there's a point in time in history where they will finish. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes have always been and will always be. So these are the three important fundamental differences that we need to bear in mind. Please remember, every time, every age, every civilization, every society, there is some sort of shirk that is prevalent, but it's not necessarily the same as human murder. There's going to be a different form. It's going to have a different disguise. So you need to recognize shirk for what it really is. So no matter what disguise it wears, you're able to tell it. You're able to tell it apart from the real, but it doesn't. So we need to recognize and really ingrain these realities in us. Now the other part which is important, shirk fil ibadah, shirk fil huquq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that, the shirk in ibadah. And ibadah is not just worship, it's much, much more. It incorporates 5 important things. Obedience, la ta'ata fi makhluqin fi ma'siyati al-khaliq. There is no obedience to the creation and disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the creation says do this and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says don't do this and you still go ahead and do that, and that is shirk and obedience. And with that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this goes from the rulers to your society, peer pressure, to the environment, to parents, to the families, to the self, to the individual themselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks, have you seen the Qur'an? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks in 2 places, have you seen the person who has taken the desires of his own self as ilah other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He's made the desires of his own self God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to stay away from that passion, from seeing those things or indulging in those things, and he knows it. Yet he obeys. He's a slave. He's an abd of his desires to the point where he still goes and continuously and persistently falls into that sin. So who is that person obeying? Allah or his own nafs? So obedience to creation is shirk, and what is that? What is that? Right? And then shirk also involves love. Focus, the sign of your iman is that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger above everything and anything else, even yourself. That's love. That's love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells us that is the Abdul Dinar. Destroyed be the person who is the slave of the dirham and the dinar, who for the sake of wealth, for the sake of property in this world, for his love of wealth, he disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That keeps him away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's shirk. sincerity, ikhlas. Everything you do is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alone, focused for Him and for no one else. If you're praying and you see somebody else praying, or if you see somebody else seeing you pray, and you increase the length of your prayer, shirk. Because now that prayer is for Allah and for that other person watching you. If your point in doing da'wah, inviting people, others to Islam, is so that they will call you a scholar, or they will say how awesome he speaks, or how amazing he is, if that is the intention, shirk, wasted. Absolutely no work. Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Man salla yura'i faqad ashraka." Whoever prays to show off has committed shirk. "Man sama yura'i faqad ashraka." And whoever fasts to show off has committed shirk. وَمَنْ صَدَّقَ يُرَائِ فَقَدْ أَشْرَكَ. And whoever gives in charity to show off so that people will call him a very generous person has already committed shirk. The unforgivable sin. Sincerity, purely for the sake of Allah. And again, rituals of worship always. You don't make sajda to anyone else other than Allah. You don't stand in qiyam like you do for in salah, anyone else, and similar rituals. Right. One last one of shirk. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, "Man lam yashkur al-nas, lam yashkur Allah." Whoever is ungrateful to the people is ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means that person's sound nature, the characteristic of his sound nature, of his fitrah, that is gratitude, is dead. So if he's not grateful to people, then forget about him being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This well is dry. No matter who tries to pull water out of it, it's not going to get it. Because the well is dried up. The well has dried up. Whoever's not grateful to the people, is not grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moves on the third ayah today, 14th ayah, I believe. And this is the advice of Luqman has been given to great. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says from himself, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. And we have endowed man, joined on man about his parents. About his parents. The emphasis of the right of the parent right next to the emphasis of the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is not the only place of the Quran where this happens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ لَا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Immediately after the Bani Israel are being told, we take this pact, we take from the Bani Israel, don't worship other than Allah, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And make sure you are grateful to your parents. قُلْ تَعَالَوْا أَتْلُ مَا حَرَّمَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Again, do not commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with your parents. Be kind and gentle with your parents. Do ihsan with your parents. فَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Again, do not worship anyone other than Allah and be grateful. That is the importance of the parents. And in the parents, the mother, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ. His mother bore him on pain and anguish over pain, pain over pain. And then she weaned him over a period of 2 years. And ishkur li, and this is so you be grateful to me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Yes, your parents are doing that for you, but foremost, primary, your gratitude is towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The main focus of your gratitude. And then your parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes the rights of the mother. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, paradise lies at the feet of your mother. When somebody asked the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who is the most deserving of my good character, of my good treatment? The Messenger said, your mother. He said, and then your mother, and then your mother, and then father. Daddy gets a little bit, but 3 times more subhanAllah for the mother, the rights of the mother. And what is it today? We see people for the sake of love, for the sake of the love of dunya, their parents, and go bye-bye. We have a lot of money to make. Our residencies will make us right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends that verse where he journey that you're on, journey's end is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you're on a conveyor belt. You see those conveyor belts in the airports and stuff? Right? It's continuously moving. Continuously moving. People can be looking up the way playing their PlayStation, but that conveyor belt is going in one direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhal insanu innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadihan famulaqih. You are struggling, O man, towards your Lord, a struggle, and you will definitely meet it. Every single person is in a state of struggle all day to make a little bit of money in this world, to make someone happy, to sustain your family, to make yourself happy, to get an education, to get a degree, to get a job, to get this, to get that, is a struggle. Every bit of the way is a struggle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is recognizing that. He's telling you, yes, it is a struggle, but recognize that struggle is towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your struggle, you may have directed towards worldly things, but your life that's conveyor belt is headed towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're going towards Allah anyways, if your struggle is towards, if you're going to struggle anyways, and you're going towards Allah anyways, then might as well struggle towards Allah. Religion is going to be a struggle as well. Perhaps a tougher struggle, a more peaceful struggle, but a struggle nevertheless. Life is a struggle. So take your choice. Sell yourself at the highest bid. Ilayhi al-Musir was saying, you're going to come back to me. You're going to come back. So then, now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned shirk and ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you mentioned the rights of the parents. So what if there is a situation in which the parents demand for you to do something that is against the wishes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What do you do? And that's a practical issue that the Sahaba were faced with as well. وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَنْ تُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. If they do that, do not obey them. But that does not mean that you start yelling at them. That does not mean you start fighting with them. That does not mean you say, I have to go to Islam because I don't care what you say. You don't know anything, you're judging, and I'm the only Muslim here and you go. It doesn't work. It's not how it's supposed to be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, bear their company in this world in the most excellent manner. In the most excellent manner. And the priceless example of that is over here from Surah Ibrahim, where he tells us that, Ya abati la ta'budu shaytan, inna shaytan kana lir-rahmani 'asiyya. Over in Luqman, in Surah Luqman, we see the father giving advice to his son. Over here we see the son giving advice to his father. He's telling him, don't worship shaytan. What is wrong with you? Don't worship shaytan. Shaytan was a rebel against my Lord. The love that Ibrahim had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not saying that shaitan is an enemy of me, but he's made me do bad things. He's saying he's a rebel against my Lord. His beef with shaitan is that shaitan is a rebel to his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the reason. He hates for Allah, to love for Allah, to hate for Allah. That's loving Allah. And then he says, Ya abati inni akhafu an yamassaka 'adabun min ar-Rahman fatakuna lish-shaytani waliya. I am afraid that Ar-Rahman, the most gracious, check out the word, the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious will inflict you with a punishment, lest anyone escapes with the idea that his graciousness or mercy will mean that he's not going to inflict you with punishment. Look at the words that he's using. He will inflict you with a punishment if you take shaitan's command. قال أراغب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم لئن لم تنته لأرجمنك وهجرني مليا. Now look at his father. Somebody possessed by shaitan. He's saying, are you telling me to stay away from my gods, O Ibrahim? If you don't stop doing it, I will stone you. I will do rajam. I will stone you. And I will vanish. You will be away from me. Allah from myself for a long time. So now that's the character of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And he's not only is his father telling him to do shirk, he's telling him, I am going to stone you. I am going to banish you. What does Ibrahim alayhi salam do in response? Qala salamun alaykum. Peace be on you. Sa'astaghfiru lika rabbi. I will seek istighfar, forgiveness for you for my any better. How many of us, when we are being disobedient to our parents, or yelling at our parents, or screaming or fighting with our parents, who has a better right to be fighting with his father right now? Who has a greater right to be fighting, the greatest right ever? When his father is saying, I'm going to kick you out. If anyone can be disobedient and rude to his dad, it's now. Ibrahim has it right, if anyone ever has it right. But for much lesser things, for much lesser sins, if you want to call them, we fight with our parents. And we're rude to our parents for much lesser things. Be it religion. The most important thing on the face of this earth, Tawheed, the most heinous crime on the face of this earth, shirk. Ibrahim is upholding Tawheed, his father is upholding and propagating shirk, constructing shirk in his old house and providing it to the masses, subhanAllah. Yet, this is a character. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends the ayah, ثُمَّ إِلَيَّ مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَأُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Actually, before the وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيَّ, as far as following someone goes, obedience to someone goes, then you choose the person who's on the path. مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيَّ, the path who's facing towards me, his life is centered around me. That's somebody you need to take to for guidance. You're going to look for advice, take it to someone. You will come back to me. Then I will tell you about what you used to do. Now, then the advice of Luqman begins again. يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله. Oh my son, if there be the weight of a mustard seed, smallest thing possible, and is it if it's in a rock somewhere in the heavens, or if it's in a rock somewhere hidden, or if it's hidden in the heavens somewhere, or if it's hidden somewhere on the earth, yet to be Allah will bring it forth. In the law, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of kindness to kindness. It's most subtle and aware of every single thing. Again, now this is the second foundation of wisdom. First foundation of wisdom we talked about was gratitude. And on that we built the structure of wisdom which resulted in tawheed. Right? The second nature, second foundation. Sound nature, fitrah of the man is aware of what ma'ruf and munkar. We spoke about this last time as well. The words used in the Qur'an for good deeds, for righteous actions, is ma'ruf, something that is popularly known, something that is already known. Everyone knows it's bad to lie. Everyone knows it's good to tell the truth. To fulfill your promises is good, and to betray your trust is bad. Everyone knows this endowed, ingrained information in our fitrah. Just one word that reflects the Quran uses, and it tells us about our inclination, about our natural inclinations. And similarly, for hated crimes, for sins, munkar, something that is foreign, something that is rejected, inherently hated by the human being, by the human nature. That's munkar. Right? So the Quran has told us that this is already in فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the soul. He endowed it with the knowledge of what is good and what is bad. So the sound nature already recognizes this. Now what does the sound intellect do to build on top of that? It recognizes that for good, should we get good? In such a perfect world, in such a just, balanced world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating, where everything is in perfect order, there's one thing that doesn't fit. When you do good, the results should be good. And when you do bad, the results should be bad. Right? As you sow, so should you reap, right? That's how the saying goes. So if somebody does good, why does there sometimes have to bear bad consequences? And when somebody does bad, how do they get away with it and get so much benefit out of it? This is one thing that does not make sense. Therefore, the intellect reaches the conclusion there has to be justice demands. The justice of the just creator who created such a just world, except for this one thing, demands that there be another life. There has to be another life. absolute justice is impossible. So wisdom begets what? 1 plus 2. Afterlife where Allah will bring forth every single thing and compensate it. That's the second foundation. Now, one thing that I was wondering as well, and I'm sure you guys are wondering as well, how come we never reach these conclusions? Because again, Luqman is not a prophet, and he's not a follower of a prophet either. Because if he were, then he would refer to some sort of divine teaching or the prophet's name. And in all his advice, he does not talk about it. So, Mufassirin conclude that this is all that he is talking about are things that human beings can reach on their own. Conclusions of realities that human beings can do on their own without any divine revelation. This is all capability of the human being, provided a sound nature human. So if we're wondering why can't we reach these conclusions, why doesn't our sound nature, sound intellect reach us to be able to take us to these conclusions? Perhaps because they're not really that sound, right? Or that unproductive. We never even bother to sit down and think about this. Right? That's what Luqman did. He had that sound nature, he had that sound intellect, and that allowed him to reach these conclusions. Right? So then, putting the foundations together. If there is this one creator, one sustainer, my master, if I owe everything to him, if I owe him my existence, and there will be a day where he will bring forth every single thing, no matter how small it may be, bring it forth and compensate me for it, punish me or reward me for it, therefore that should have some bearing on my action. So he tells his son, Ya bunayya aqim as-salah, establish prayer. Make sure there is some avenue in your life where you turn to this one master. Obviously his prayer is not the same as our prayer. Where the Messenger ﷺ taught us that there is some way in which he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something. Right? And next logical conclusion, next thing that wisdom begets, wisdom suggests, what more will and the peace that you will get after doing this, after adopting this lifestyle, you should make sure you share it with others. So command what is good, and stop people from that which is bad. And then once you do that, they won't like it. Right? Nobody likes to know that they're doing it. So they will get back at you. So whatever they do, bear it with patience and perseverance. Don't stop doing it too. If they're evil and they're mean to you, that doesn't mean you stop. You're persevering. Patiently persevere. Continue doing that. It does not behoove you. It is not suited for you to believe in an all-compassionate, all-merciful, sustainer, provider, and start complaining at the same time. It does not make sense. If you believe in an all-wise, all-knowledgeable God, and for you to start complaining, you start questioning whatever is happening, once you know that everything that happens because of Him, because He lets it happen, then for you to complain, that does not go with your iman. That does not go with your iman. In that and this is something you need to resolve firmly on. This is something to set your heart on, something to dedicate yourself to, because it requires determination to do this. It's not going to be easy. So he's telling me that something that requires a lot of us all. It's that station of determination is what he's reminding me. Final advice. After you do all of this, after you dedicate your life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in establishing His tawheed, in staying away from all that is ascribing powers to anyone else, or doing worship of anything else, after having done that, after being nice to your parents, after being kind to your parents, after establishing salah, after commanding other people to do it, after commanding the people to stop doing wrong, and after patiently persevering through all that they throw at you, the stones and the taunts and this, that, the third, what you should do, don't think of yourself to be better than you. Don't get arrogant. Don't get arrogant. So sa'id is a disease that a camel got because of which his neck turned. If you're turning your cheek to people, that means you're like, I'm better than you. So he's telling them you're not better. Don't turn your cheek to the people. Like, don't turn away from them in scorn. What I've done, and don't walk about on the earth, don't strike about on the earth You get that swagger in your mood. Don't walk about with arrogance. Be very, very humble. Inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the arrogant boasters. People who start showing off why they did this, I did this. Why are you so tired of it? Well, I've been up all night praying. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So no arrogance. Sheikh Sadi gives a beautiful example. He says that he portrays the example that a father and son wake up to pray and pray the tahajjud at night. In the middle of the night, they wake up to pray. The son wakes up and tells the father, I feel so sorry for all these other people who are not as fortunate as we are, that we get this chance to pray this blessed time of night, and we're so blessed to be here, right? And his father tells him, my son, I wish that rather than saying that, rather than praying and then saying that, I wish you were sleeping with me. Because if that's the attitude that this prayer is getting you, then it's useless. It's pointless. You're wasting. You're just flooding with these funny prayers I found. And that's what Shaitan wants you to do. That's what Shaitan wants to do. So his first target is your aqidah. At all costs, he's going to try to make you do shirk. If that doesn't work, then he's going to make sure that he uses that religion against you. So you get that religious arrogance that results in you being rude to your parents. He's going to target you at that end. Start being rude to your parents. You're so much better than them. You want to go learn Islamic knowledge and they're not letting you do that. Yell at them. That gives you the right. They're fools. They don't know anything. They're kuffar. They're the people following culture, following what they found their forefathers doing. And you're so much better. So Luqman said in the left side, don't get arrogant. وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشْيِكَ وَاغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. And have this balanced walk and a balanced pace. Not too fast, not too slow. Lower your voice. وَاغْضُضْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. Lower your voice. إِنَّ أَنْكَرَ الْأَصْوَاتِ لَصَوْتُ الْحَمِيدِ. Most hated of voices. Most hated of voices is that of the donkey of the mouth. Be humble and be balanced. SubhanAllah, these are the things that you adopt in your characters, in your personality. That when you do amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar, when you command people and advise people, amr does not just mean command, it also means advice. When you do that, then people are more likely to listen to you. Nobody likes an intimidating, arrogant, right? So if you have that balanced approach in your voice, you have that balance in your walk, you're not intimidating to people, you're humble, and they're more likely to respond as well. And again, what do you have to be arrogant about anyways? Whatever you have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what are you in the product of a dirty, filthy, drop of food? So what is there to be arrogant about? How can we consider ourselves to be better than anyone? Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us to make sure you do all those things and make sure that Shaitan does not make you waste time. Because everything will go down the drain if you become arrogant. That's about Shaitan. Nobody worships Allah as much as Shaitan. To the point where he was made an angel. What pushed him out? Arrogance. So he wants the exact same to happen. The exact same. Yet we don't take him as an enemy. We don't recognize this as a plot. We fall on him. Which is why people find religious people to be very, very uncomfortable, not very pleasant. Right? Make sure